Every day, someone wakes up and begins hunting for easy prey to rob and steal. If your lifestyle makes you look like prey, you'll be found eventually. Be ready. Stop the Threat starts now. Hello and welcome to Stop the Threat. My name is James Towle. On this week's episode, we take you to Texas for a reenactment which we have entitled Walking Robbery. But first, let me introduce you to this week's panel. Lieutenant Dan Marcou, Lieutenant Dan as he's known by most, was a police officer for 33 years and now widely known as a police trainer and the author of 4 police novels and a soon-to-be-released 5th book titled Law Dogs, Great Cops in History. LT is also a returning guest to the show. Donn Gallahue. Don retired as a lieutenant after serving 25 years with the Florida Sheriff's Department in the Tampa Bay area. Don is now a full-time firearms instructor in New Mexico. Alan Watson. Alan was a supervisor for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation and currently is an investigator for the Sheriff's Department. Welcome all. Listen, I have an email I want to begin with because it's kind of relevant to what's going to take place later. So I'm just going to read this and then we'll kind of look at it. This email is from Wayne in Alaska. Dear James, for reference, I am a retired police lieutenant. On all of your shows, you talk about calling 911, which is always the right thing to do. But remember, after a shooting, your mouth is your worst enemy, and everything is being recorded. The absolute worst thing you can say is that I just shot someone. Give them your name, a location, and that a shooting has taken place, and you need police and ambulance. He also goes on to say, which I've never heard before, which I thought was a good idea, tell them the area is secure. I think that would probably be, I've never heard anybody say that before, so I appreciate that, Lieutenant. And so what do you think? How do you feel about the 911 call? Should you say that you shot someone or not?
What this gentleman wrote to you in the email is exactly what I teach my civilians in the concealed handgun license courses. You're not at your best when you're on the phone. You've just been involved in what could be the most traumatic event that you've experienced in your life. You're in no way ready to give too much information like that over the phone.
Alan?
I agree. From a citizen standpoint, when something like that occurs, the citizen is not thinking of what they should say, shouldn't say. The 911 operator is going to be asking them specific questions, right, and it's only natural for them to give them answers to it, and the operator is trying to keep whoever it is calm. So that's a hard call.
It is very hard. And actually he goes on to say that if law enforcement continues to ask you questions or hang up or just turn to law enforcement and say, I'm not saying anything further until my attorney arrives. LT?
I would add, this is what I'm wearing right now, and I'm going to pose no threat to the officers. I'll do exactly what they say.
And that's what you want to say to 911?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point.
We're down to just a few seconds, but you arrive on the scene. You're now addressing the individual who called 911, and he says to you, officer, I'll be glad to cooperate with you, but I don't want to make any statements until I speak to my attorney. What do you say? When we come back, I'll get you that answer. Don't go away. Welcome back, viewers. We were just discussing 911. Probably the most emails I receive is how to handle the 911 call, what to say, what not to say. We got a few good tips in there. I like the fact you describe yourself as the good guy, and I'm wearing the white shirt and tie. There's a couple of other things that were mentioned that I thought were worthy, and I hope before the show is over we get to talk a little bit more about 911. But I do want to show you Walking Robbery Part 1.
I'm just walking home right now. Yeah, I got those boots I had my eyes on. Well, you want to go have drinks later? Well, what time is it? All right, I'll meet you at 11. Sounds good. Take care.
Hey, so you want to hit one of these shops?
Nah, too many witnesses. Let's find someone on the street.
Hey, what about her?
Not worth our time.
Right. Hey, what about this guy on the left? Shopping bag, headphones on?
It's promising.
Give me everything you got.
Okay, I'm just going to start with an open statement here, not necessarily a question, but just for the viewers, let me just make this clear, and I think we can all agree upon this. Yes, all the bad guys are looking for an easy target all the time. That's why they call them bad guys and not altar boys. So here's the rub. This is a lifestyle. Okay, the guy, this is what he does. I mean, I like to go down to Starbucks and get a cup of coffee around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, that's probably what I'm going to do every day. I meet friends there. I chat with people. It's a familiar cheers kind of an atmosphere. And I don't want to change my lifestyle. I mean, that's why we have law enforcement. So what do I have to do? What makes this different? What can I do to protect myself without changing my lifestyle, LT?
Well, I always tell people, look up and look out, get your head out of your apps. You've got a guy...
Apps is what he said, right?
Yes, apps. What he's doing is what so many people do nowadays. I mean, that can get you hit by a car as well as robbed. Pay attention at night. You're walking out at night, pay attention to what's the world around you. It's a 360-degree world, and you got to prepare yourself for the worst.
Give me everything you got.
Okay, Alan, I'm going to bebop down the sidewalk. Okay, and I'm going to have I like the music. I like to hear music when I'm going someplace. I'm plugged in. Maybe if I stop every now and then and look around, is that too much to ask? I mean, what would you suggest?
Well, again, this was a crime of opportunity.
Right.
In the segment, it shows that these guys were searching for their proper opportunistic person. And this guy presented himself. He was not aware of his surroundings. He's got the earphones in. He's into his phone, which is so much of what's going on today.
And I don't think we can change that, Alan.
No.
I mean, I don't think people are willing to change that because in the back of their mind they're going, hey, that's why we pay for cops. Why do I have to change my lifestyle? I think we need to tell them that you need to adjust your lifestyle. You don't have to change it,
Absolutely.
just adjust it. How can I adjust it?
Well, teaching people to be aware of their surroundings when they're going out, that they don't have to be a potential for someone.
Target of opportunity.
Target of opportunity.
Sure.
And when they go out, the areas that they're going into, if they're familiar areas, if they're unfamiliar areas, to be more aware of what's around them. If something doesn't feel right. This guy could have, went to a lighted area where there's more people around. When he sees a car come by, he's unaware the car is approaching him.
Hopefully he hears the car. See, unfortunately, he's kind of in that audio exclusion area
Right.
because he's plugged in. Where do you want to go with that?
The preeminent trainer in our business is Clint Smith, and he said it best. He says, if you look like food, you will be eaten. This man has got victim painted all over him.
Okay, so if you're going to live this lifestyle and you're going to walk around in audio exclusion because you prefer music to traffic, then if you're going to do that, then at least pause every now and then and have a look around. And I think that's what you were alluding to. I mean, you may not change your life over it, but at least be cautious because life's not really improving. You're becoming more of a target all the time. And there isn't enough law enforcement to cover you 24/7. Nope. So you got to take a little responsibility for what you do. And when we come back, I'm going to show you part 2. Don't go away. Welcome back, viewers. We're talking about a lifestyle awareness, and that's the phrase I'm going to use. If it's your lifestyle to walk to the corner every day and buy a Red Bull, I'm not going to tell you to change that. I don't think any of us here want to tell you to change that. But maybe what we want to say is something like start planning your route. Maybe have 2 routes. Look for familiar things along your route. If you don't see something that you're comfortable with, change your route. But I'm not asking you to change your life. Anybody want to pick that up?
Well, anytime you get focused on one thing, tunnel vision occurs. And all you have to do is, there's a time and a place for your technology, and it isn't walking down the street. And if you can't pull away from it, at least pull away from it momentarily
Right.
and break up your tunnel vision
Right.
on a regular basis.
Right, right, and I think that's a good idea. I think that's all we can really ask of anyone, and because we're not going to change the way you live. We're not going to change the way your sons and daughters live. But just make them aware to stop and take a breath, huh, Alan?
Absolutely. It's like if someone, consistently takes their trash out, when they take the bin out to the road, if there's unfamiliar people standing there, why proceed on until
Correct.
you find out if they're not a threat?
What's the rush, right?
Right.
Hey, just stop and look around and say, okay, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm going back inside in this particular case, or I'm turning around, I'm going the other way because I have an alternate route. Okay, before I do too much more of that, and I know that we could talk on for hours with this, I want to show you part 2. So let's watch part 2 of Walking Robbery.
Give me everything you got.
Look, man, I don't want any trouble.
Shut up! Put your phone and your wallet in the bag and hand it over. Hurry up! Smart man.
Just shoot him and get in the car.
Two men just tried to kill me. They drove off in a 4-door, dark-colored sedan. I think I shot one of them.
Okay, that's a pretty traumatic event. I think I've had emails in the past saying that, when someone's got you at gunpoint, do you want to try to outdraw them at that? I don't know. That went well. What do you think, Alan?
Well, I like what this guy did. He complied with what he was told to do. He knew he was armed. What he didn't do was draw that weapon until he heard the other guy
Some
say,
kind of distraction.
shoot him.
Right. Yeah, right,
At
right.
that point, he had the decision to make to protect himself from imminent harm.
Right.
So,
And I like the fact that he drew his weapon, he fired on the move.
On the move.
He wasn't standing static. What do you think,
Absolutely.
LT?
Oh, that was by the numbers. It was a diamond of a response.
Right.
If I was to polish it a little bit, I would say, when you get over to that bag, grab it with the technology and move behind cover to make the call. Other than that, that was by the numbers a great response.
You and I have talked a lot about trauma and what takes place, and this is a really good example of someone who's been traumatized by what has just taken place in his life. Go with that.
Very normal, natural response, James, to this type of a life-changing event. I think that the adrenaline dump that comes from that type of an incident is to be understood perfectly by the behavior that we saw. I'm also very happy that I see that he somehow got some training to where he has the basic skill set necessary to draw that firearm under stress from concealment and deliver shots on his assailant. And that is a level of skill that I think is overlooked by many concealed handgun licensees that feel that once they have the license and they own the gun that they're good to go. and that is simply not the case.
Yeah, training. Are you okay with the fact that he pulled that trigger until he heard click?
The threat wasn't gone. They were still in front of him, and he stopped at exactly the right time when they drove off and no longer posed a threat.
Yes.
Right. It's too bad that he didn't have a second magazine, because that's certainly, because he's out. And now he's kind of like, if they had any, so I probably would have liked to have seen him travel with a second magazine. But again, how many people are actually going to do that? Alan, what do you think?
I don't think the average person is going to carry a backup magazine. He had the weapon on him for personal defense. It came into play. He probably didn't realize he was going to shoot that many times, but the threat was still in front of him.
Right.
And he stopped it the best that he could.
Right. I think probably the only other thing I would add to that is that at the time when he emptied his gun, he was on the move, and he probably shouldn't stop moving. Not knowing what's going to take place in the next few seconds after you hear click, keep going. What distance is your friend, huh?
Absolutely.
So just keep going. If the car drives off, hey, it drives
Leave
off.
from the area.
Right.
That was a hot area. The assailant could have come back.
Right.
I would have liked to have seen him go to out of the zone of where he could be continually be victimized.
Yeah, you like that?
I liked it, and I'd add to it some lateral movement on the run, making yourself a hard target.
Right.
Correct.
Right. You're good with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I'm good with that also. I don't think any of us would have done any different, whether you're law enforcement or whether you're a good law-abiding citizen. When that guy said shoot him, he did what he had to do, and he was a very lucky individual for doing it. When we come back, though, I'm going to wrap this up for you with a few final comments. Don't go away. Welcome back, viewers. There's a lot to be said here, but I really want to go back to the 911 call, because that's where I get most of the emails surrounding a situation. We've dealt with trauma. I don't think we've dealt with it enough, and we can return to that someday. But 911, anybody want to add to the 911 call? Anything they should or should not do? Let me ask you this question. Is the 911 call the same in every state? In other words, do I need to be conscious of the fact not to mention that I shot someone in every state? Is that just going to be a fact I'm just going to throw out here, and no matter where you live, don't say you shot someone?
No. I encourage the people that I instruct to say that there has been a shooting. For instance, there's been a shooting at the Towle residence. Police send EMS and the address, and basically that's it. Now, that is brief, and it doesn't give a whole lot of information, and like Alan said earlier, 911 is going to call you back and try to get more information from you, but you need to start controlling that scene immediately and not say too much on the phone. It'll come back to haunt you.
Oh, yeah, okay, and that's where I want to go here. I mean, at some point, isn't the DA going to look at this? Is anything you're going to say to 911 going to be held against you later?
You don't want to use any expletives because they're not going to be deleted.
Correct.
That's a taped line, so there should be some discipline in what you say. But in a case like this, people are going to make mistakes in what they say. But what was good about this case is it was a last resort, and last resorts are better than last rights.
Okay, so you could say, and we can all agree that no matter what state you're in, under those circumstances where you have heard someone say, shoot him, of course, nobody's going to know that but you. Right. The bad guys are never going to say that. But in your defense, you are going to say, the man said, shoot me, I drew, and I emptied my weapon on him.
If you've got a legitimate situation such as this, where the assailant said shoot him,
just shoot him and get in the car.
He responded by drawing his weapon to defend himself. If a 911 call comes in for that, and it's legitimate, the victim is going to give that information. The 911 operator is going to solicit the most information they can get to convey to the officers responding for their safety, so they know what they're going into.
Right.
And I think that's only natural that a person will answer those questions.
Okay, and I think there's been some references early on that if 911 presses you to say you shot someone, not to answer, hang up, forget about it. Everybody happy with that?
I am. Hanging up is
Just
always,
say, hey,
is
send
always an option.
EMT, send law enforcement, there has been a shooting, click.
That's right.
I don't know, I might probably add, hey, I'm the good guy in the white shirt, but, you know, and a few other.
I would stay on the line till the police get there and talk to them.
Then it's okay just to say 911. I'm not going to answer that question. What's wrong with saying that? I'm not going to answer that question until law enforcement arrives.
Right. Eventually, they're going to have to answer the question. I would like to talk to the police officer when he gets here, because the key to the jail is in their explanation.
Yeah, I like that. I don't have any more time, though. Thanks for tuning in this week. Social media, I know you have a lot to say about this. I'll see you again next week. Be safe, be trained, be alert.